Hi guys, and welcome back to another video on my channel. And before anybody comments that my shirt is broken, I know it's insanely old, but it's my favorite top and I'm too sentimental to throw it away. So cope. Anyways, today we're talking about my belt setup. More specifically, how good a budget belt can actually be. Now, just so you have some context on what I had before, I had this 8Gear belt, which costs more than the 8Fields belt, but is not reinforced at all. And in the front, it offers no Velcro because you have to pull down the ends of it to tighten it down to your specific size, which sucks. And it came with this inner belt that is super rigid and uncomfortable and also really thick. But for me, it worked. I had it for, almost 3 years now. It didn't break. So it definitely did its job, but just poorly, you could say. Enter the 8Fields belt. It's reinforced. As you can see, it doesn't collapse, which is pretty great, even though it's under a lot of load. It has very small sectioned MOLLE, which is nice for attaching different pouches that are differently sized or need to be tied down extra, etc., etc. And the closure system on the front allows the Velcro to extend all the way to the front. Obviously, for me, it's covered by the tourniquet mount right here. But right here, you can see it goes all the way up to the front and isn't covered by excess material that you had to put away because your waist is too small. And the inner belt is not only way thinner and smaller, but also way more flexible and softer, which makes it super comfortable. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it only costs like 10 bucks. That sounds too good to be true, right? Well, kind of. Let's get into it. Now, if you have any wrinkles in your brain, you probably see the price tag of about $12 to $15, depending on what color you get, and are like, okay, the stitching is probably gonna be ass. But in my opinion, at least in the first sighting of it, the stitching actually looks really fine. As you can see right here, it's consistent and good enough, especially again for 15 bucks with a structural belt. However, the long-term review will tell how good the stitching is. But for now, I can tell that it's good. Same with the material, because I did like 3 belt setups by now. And if you know anything about MOLLE, you know that setting up MOLLE is the thing that damages or strains MOLLE the most. And it has held up fine, no problem whatsoever. Speaking of the material, but also including the stitching. The copper buckles seem to be high quality as well. They're really silent. There's no like scratching or anything. And they're perfectly in spec with each other, which is impressive, again, considering the price. But also here, disclaimer, this is a short-term review and only the long-term will eventually tell how good this belt really is, which I will be able to do in about, I would say, 2 months. So stay tuned. The inner belt itself, what the fuck? The inner belt itself also looks good. Again, good stitching, the material looks fabulous, and the Velcro is also fine. The only downside that I think there is that the Velcro spacing on the inside, so the black Velcro, is a little bit too short in my opinion. But overall, the inner belt is pretty good, and I especially want to mention how soft and comfortable it is compared to the 8Gear inner belt that I had before. Like, it's insane. I missed out for so many years. Okay, now before we end this video with my conclusion and final review of the belt, let's actually look at how I have set it up. Starting on the right hand side, we start with a tourniquet that I have in a, I guess, DIY tourniquet sleeve from 8Gear. There was Velcro on there, but I just removed that. And in there I have a Sharpie as well, mounted in the other direction, so that when I pull out my tourniquet to my left hand side, the hook catches the Sharpie in there and it doesn't fly out. So I can then grab it and pull it in the other direction when I need it to, write down the time. Moving further back on the belt, we have my holster setup. This consists of a replica True North Concepts leg or drop leg plate with a Repro Safariland QLS that I have mounted with my universal holster from actually AliExpress, which holds my Glock 17 Gen 4 by the trigger guard, but this can also accept 6 hours, Walters, you name it, it probably can take it. One concern of mine with the structural and very thin laser cut MOLLE was that the holster mount would impede on my hip and be uncomfortable, but actually this was totally not the case. I'm really surprised as to how much I do not notice it. So if you have that concern like I did, don't worry, it's gonna be fine. Moving on to the 6 o'clock position on my belt, we have a DIY mounted 8Field tourniquet pouch. This is from their new Lasercut collection on Taiwan Gun Store, link in description, that I have mounted via Velcro zip ties because it comes with a vertical MOLLE, not horizontal. As you can see in there, I also have a Sharpie. And one cool feature of this pouch is that you can swap out the color of the, I guess, medical cross, depending on, if you do the ultra LARP or not, but I like to keep it red because it looks cool. But yeah, mounted via Velcro zip ties, it works, don't worry. And now moving on to the left-hand side, we have this mass of stuff. Let's just get over this piece by piece. So from right to left, we have my little retention helo thing that I have just kind of mounted on there and held in place by a zip tie. I love zip ties, no matter Velcro or plastic. And this is not really a retention strap for vehicle stuff, but more or less just to hold a rifle or anything extra that I need that I don't want swinging around on my kit when I, for example, need both of my hands and can't really hold my rifle in place. And the front is also mounted, well, via zip ties in that MOLLE pouch. I will probably find a better way, but for now this works. And again, it's only for very niche purposes. And of course it looks cool. I don't know if I still need to mention that. And then right next to that, I have a Blue Force Gear dump pouch. It's simple. I don't think I need to explain the use case of that. And then right next to that, I have this Krydex M4 mag pouch with a Kydex insert. This thing cost me 20 bucks on Amazon, and it has been holding up for almost 3 years now and still going strong. No stitching going loose or anything like that. So shout out Krydex, I guess. Really solid stuff. And then moving on one more, we have my canted pistol mag pouch. As you can see, I kind of fucked with the Velcro mount because of my old Eidriger belt. I had to do this to actually mount it on there. But with this one, I wouldn't have to do this. So now it's kind of loose, which is why I used a zip tie to hold it down a little bit more tighter. It's canted because easier to draw, my torso is short, so I have more space to actually draw the magazine and not, run it into my plate carrier. Speaking of zip ties, I have a zip tie running through the last or first, depending on your perspective, MOLLE section of the belt, where I have the carabiner for my gloves hanging on there. These are replica pig gloves. Had them for a year now and they're still going strong. So yeah. Now the only real downside that I could find with this belt so far is the system that not only tightens down the excess material, but also keeps it. Why exactly, you ask? Well, as you can see, I have the excess material tied over the hook. That is so that there's no more material that can give into here because there's no more way to go, right? But let me show you something. If I give it that extra length and I just let it go, with time it just loosens up again, as you can see. So yeah, the buckle is really loose and doesn't really hold on the extra fabric, and this can get really annoying. But now you might say, hey, just tie it down and it will stop eventually. And yes, that is true, but the strap is reinforced where you actually fold it over the rest of the material. And this will end up creating a problem down the line because for me, I'm between, I guess, sizes with the nylon material because I need it at a certain tightness where I still have like 1 centimeter left over that isn't, tied down into that thing that you use to tie down. And then you put the belt on and over time it loosens itself up. And then you have a loose belt, which is, obviously annoying. So again, my solution here was to just tie it down over the buckle, because that way there is no more way to give for extra material. You'll just have to figure this out, but I'm sure you can, because number one, you're a fully functional human being, and number two, if I can do it, you're probably going to be able to do that too. Don't worry about that. And while I would have liked the inner belt to be more designed with like the bison belt, where you put a hook in here and hook it over and then put it over again, I'll put a picture of that up because I cannot explain that. But that would obviously hike up prices again, which is not the use case for 8Fields. Now, if you want to check out the belt or all the other Lasercut stuff from 8Fields, I will leave a link down below. But the general use case for me for 8Fields gear is for airsoft. And while I've seen and heard of dudes that are like actually in special forces use 8Fields gear, I would say it's the best brand right now for airsoft if you don't care about it looking like a real JPC or real gear. like for example my Repro SPC. Because they have great quality, the colors look good, they actually are coming out with a new Ranger green line, the stitching is fine, and it's just overall good quality for a very cheap price, which is especially nice if you, like me, like to change up your kit a lot and like to purchase different kinds of pouches and stuff just to play around with, you know, what works and what doesn't. And I personally think this is way better than, for example, a replica Ferro Bison belt for like 30 bucks, because again, this thing only costs a third of the price, whilst being, in my opinion, actually better quality, because it's not a design that has to be copied, but this is an original design that is designed to be cheap and thereby doesn't cut corners around different things because it needs to do things just poorly, just so it's a, you know, replica. I don't know if that makes sense, but you get what I'm saying, right? Now, before we jump into the final conclusion, I need to make the disclaimer that Taiwan Gun sent me this belt with some other stuff, such as the tourniquet pouches, because I was looking around on their website and I saw the belt and I was like, hey, I'm looking for a new belt anyways. Why not ask them if they are willing to send it to me so I don't have to spend my own money on this? So disclaimer again, they sent this to me, but no strings attached. There was no money sent or anything like that. I just got the belt. Okay. So now let's finally come to a conclusion about the 8Field's Lasercut Belt. And keep in mind, this is out of the perspective of airsoft. However, I could also be seeing myself using this for real steel shooting. Not necessarily military work, but shooting and stuff with, you know, real gear. This belt is insanely good. It costs in multicam 14 bucks. And while the multicam isn't real multicam, it's close enough to where I don't care, because I'm gonna be stuffing it full with actual multicam pouches anyways. Again, the stitching has been holding up very well so far, and the Velcro is also pretty strong. And again, the reinforcement is really nice and makes this belt way more comfortable, and is a luxury that I will not go without when buying a new belt at some point in time, because holy shit, this is good. So my final say is, this belt is insanely good, especially for the price. And if you're looking for a new belt or just want a secondary belt setup, I would definitely suggest checking out the 8Field's belt over at Taiwan Gun Shop's store. But what belts do you run, and what experience do you have with 8Field's gear? Leave that down in the comments below. And with that, I have nothing else for you guys. So join my Discord, follow me on Instagram, blah blah blah, like, subscribe, and see you next time when I probably talk about my plate carrier again. LARP.